Well, welcome to the IBEX Method Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Foutz. Today we have Carson Sweezy with Sweets and Savories, Carson Sweezy's at Instagram. How you doing, Carson?
Hey, what's up, Adam? Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah,
Excited to chat.
thanks for joining. I guess the first things first. Let's get started. So, we got connected through Instagram when I started in 2019. I have Crohn's disease. You also have Crohn's disease. I think we're both in remission. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so you invited me to this chat, this Crohn's Cool Kids Crohn's chat thing, and then from there we just really kind of just hit it off and connected and built a relationship. And I was trying to talk about who you are, what you're doing, what you got going on, and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it was fun. It seems like longer than 2019, just with how 2020 went. It seems like we've known each other for like 3 or 4 years now. But yeah, appreciate you having me on. And I think the basis for that group was similar to kind of what I've been trying to do most of my adult life, which is build community in some way. And doing that through food now. So I see food as a tool to connect people and a vehicle to create those connections for community. And there's a whole lot more we can get into with that, but that's the basis of it, And I think, yeah, that's kind of what my life has always been about. So,
Yeah, I love that, man, and that's cool. So the community thing, I don't know, it's really cool. I got to come to your house a couple of weeks ago and try out some, be a test dummy, I guess, if you will, for some new cookies. But I think it's unique how you're using your platform for just connection, and that's kind of what your brand is about, is just connecting people through food. And based on what I know about you, you like to have meetings, virtual meetings, and before the pandemic, it was kind of in-house. You'd invite people over, but you teach cooking, teach the importance of nourishment, and just set up a friendly environment for entertainment. You want to kind of expound on that? Are you still doing some of those things, or what's going on with that?
yeah, I think now what we're doing for the most part is creating videos, TikTok and Instagram and stuff, just kind of fun, entertaining ways to cook. Because I think food does a lot, even outside of the physical of the food. Just the whole process of cooking and eating is deeply therapeutic. Whether you're the one eating or whether you're the one cooking for yourself, or if you're being cooked for, there's a lot of therapy within that. So yeah, we're doing a lot of that right now. Classes and workshops and such, we're doing with a platform based out of London called Cook Rasa, and I'm kind of just guinea pigging there. It's a fairly new platform, and I'm friends with the founders, and so I'm kind of their guinea pig, and they're bringing in a ton of world-class chefs to do a lot of the stuff, and I'm kind of the guinea pig home cook to come in and, hey, let's test out this with Carson and see if we can do a workshop or two. So we're hosting one late February here, but yeah, that's kind of the extent of those. But trying to create entertainment around food, that's always part of what we do in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, that's incredible, man. That's awesome. Wow. Let's see. So again, you're about connection, authentic communities, driving entertainment. I mean, it's funny, I bought some of your cookies recently. You got this cookie endeavor going on, which I think is pretty cool. It's been a great way to, again, just connect. And I saw a lot of your stuff on Instagram. You made these amazing plates, your design with your food, everything. Like, you have very good presentation. I hadn't had the opportunity to try any of it up until you started your, the things with the cookies. And it was really cool. I really enjoyed, I think it was the peppermint ones were the first ones you started with during Christmas. Is that, or no, it was
we had the pumpkin ones,
yeah,
and then the peppermint ones. Yeah, they're kind of around the same time.
Yep. Yeah. So the pumpkin ones, that is really cool. I love fall. I love, and it just the opportunity to kind of reconnect through Instagram and just record, opening a box, and just the experience where, I love the way you connect with people in the sense that, I love the cookies. The cookies are really good, but then you also have like a handwritten tag card, tailored to the individual, and or something as simple as saying thank you. But I actually use those now as bookmarks for when I'm reading and stuff. So
oh, dude, that's the perfect book. That's a great idea. It's like the perfect size for a bookmark.
Yeah,
that's cool though. Yeah, sorry to cut you off there.
No, you're good, man. But I just feel like you're the embodiment of what it is that you're trying to display, and having again, I'm just expecting cookies, and they tasted amazing. And again, being able to connect, share pictures, share my kids, um, enjoying them, my wife enjoying them, and then having video of us to kind of taste testing, and me doing trial runs with I like chai tea lattes, so trying to find a good combo. Um, but yeah, and then just getting that personal note just added that like additional touch where I'm like, wow, like I feel heard, I feel understood, so I appreciate that. Um, and I think you're doing a great job when it comes to that connection, authenticity, community. One thing I want to kind of get into, we'll get into, your Instagram, we'll get into your website and stuff like that. But one thing I've always loved, again, so we both have Crohn's disease. I know for a lot of people with Crohn's, if you want to say the relationship with food or diet, I think we talked before, I don't really like the term diet, but yeah, your relationship with food really impacts your overall well-being. And I know your mission is, on top of connecting a community, is about nourishment of the mind, body, soul through cooking. You want to dive into that?
Sure, yeah, happy to. And to piggyback off what you last said, I appreciate that you appreciate the connection and the because there's a million cookies out there, but for me and for I think my friends that order them, it's that thing that's more than that. There's some sense of connection between that box that's not just the cookies, and I think that's really fun for me and for my friends. So appreciate that you appreciate that, and I think that's why we connect on a lot of ways, because we see that energistic connection or bond. But yeah, with the nourishment aspect, I think I agree with you in that diet is kind of a problematic word a lot of times, because it puts certain pressures on us, or there's certain things just in our society that talk about it in a certain way. Even though diet is really just what you eat, your diet could be Cheetos and Mountain Dew, and you're on a diet of Cheetos and Mountain Dew, but we've turned it into something, a different kind of word. So yeah, I think something I've tried to look at is what is it that your body needs, not just the nutrients, but what does your body need to have a good mental state, or to have the feeling in your soul that you feel nourished deep down within, on that spiritual level. And so if you're looking at some of the food now, we have bean burgers and there's some apple pies there. It's not all healthy stuff in terms of what you might think as like a crash diet type thing, but it's what I needed at the time for my own body, for my own mind. And similar with the cookies, like these are not health cookies, these are indulgent cookies.
Yeah.
And I launched them because when I'm going to indulge and I'm going to treat myself, I don't want a healthy cookie. Like I'll go eat grapes or an apple if I want to be healthy and have something sweet. If I want to indulge, I want a good cookie, and I don't want to feel like it's made of a bunch of stuff that I don't want to eat, like a processed store-bought cookie would be. But yeah, I'm kind of getting off on a rant here, but that's kind of my mindset. That's how I look at food. And there's a lot of different avenues I think we could take it. There's a spiritual connection, there's a deep social connection with food, there's the mind body connection, and just your own mental well-being. Sometimes it is nice to get like a frozen dinner from Wegmans and just like not have to think, so yeah.
No, it's good stuff, man. I think I would like to dive deeper. I mean, tell me about the mind body connection, even with somebody with Crohn's disease, right? So like, I feel like there is a huge connection between gut health and your mental state. And I like psychology. I have somewhat of a degree in it, but I always think about like usually how you feel dictates how you eat, but then how you eat dictates how you feel. I don't know. I do see like some food is you want to indulge, and it's kind of cool. Like you mentioned your products, your cookies, and like comparing that to a store bought. And that's kind of one thing I noticed is, like you mentioned, right? It's an indulgent cookie, it's an experience, but at the same time, I actually feel better eating your cookies than I do with the amount of flour and sugar that I find in a store bought cookie, So I think the intentionality that you put behind even the food that you make speaks volumes, to to your mission. Yeah, if you don't mind, let's kind of dive into some of that psychology, mind, body, soul stuff.
Yeah. One thing I realized when I had my last really bad flare, which turned into like huge weight loss and ended up having part of my colon removed. But something that I really started feeling was the cooking process healing me. So just the intention and the thought of making my own food, which I've done I started cooking when I was 4. So it's not like I suddenly found some new skill set or some hobby of cooking, but it was just having to deal with the health aspect and then preparing my food, being very intentional about what was going into my food and knowing that that was going to help to heal me. And so that whole mind body connection of knowing that my labor is going into this food that's going to then help me heal. It was really spiritual, and I think part of the healing was from that love that went into it and the intentionality. And I think when we think of soul food or grandma cooking or what our moms cooked for us growing up, or someone in our family that was cooking for us when we were kids, that's what that is. That's what makes that stuff taste so good. It's not, grandmas and moms don't always have the restaurant techniques that chefs use, but it's the love and intention that's going into the food that we can actually taste.
Yeah, wow, man. No, that's powerful, and it's kind of funny. I think the FD who manages like the ingredients in food or whatever, but they've actually accepted love as an ingredient.
I'm glad to hear that because it's on our labels.
Yeah, that's funny, but it's something too. When it's fascinating you say that, because you just, again, when I tried those cookies, like, you just it's a different experience. You can kind of just almost taste the effort that's put into it. It's kind of strange. And I think that ties into kind of what your mission is about, right? Like, just being intentional with your food. So I kind of want to just highlight what you said. You said cooking isn't some strict science tied to perfection. There's a science to cooking, yes. But what we do when we cook is engage in a personal experience towards nourishment. We feed ourselves and others through our food and the love we put into that food. You kind of hit on that, but I also love the idea of it not being a science. And, obviously this program is about health and fitness and helping people find the best versions of themselves. And, the conversation we had in the past is, as I was kind of going through my food journey, understanding what my body would accept and how certain foods made me feel. And I noticed sometimes, like, it wasn't even the food, but maybe the quantity of that food that impacted the way I felt.
Yeah.
Or, maybe I'm overindulging in cookies for the day, and now I'm just kind of like, okay, I'm sluggish, so maybe I should pull back on my amount of cookies that I eat for the day, eat and supplement with something else. So, I'm going to pull up your page again, but as we talk about it not being a science, I think a lot of people are like, hey, how do I get started in nourishment and all these things? What would you say to them when it comes to that?
Well, broadly with nourishment, I think, there's a lot of things we can do outside of the kitchen to nourish ourselves. Just sitting deeply with our own thoughts, I think, is probably one of the healthiest things we can do, or going on walks to find that it's almost a flow state, but it's like a flow state with ourselves, where you're exercising or painting or whatever kind of your outlet is. For me, that happens to be cooking, so I can kind of double down on some of the physical components too. But for others, it might be exercise, where you can get that connection with your body and your mind too, So yeah, I think that's what I would say for that. In terms of, if you're asking for cooking specifically, though, I can dive into that as well if you want.
Yeah, I just love your whole philosophy. Again, everything you're saying ties back to the mind body component and nourishing it. So I love that. So let's just dive more in on food. Let's hear more about it.
Well, yeah, I think it's an interesting topic that I like talking about, because a lot of my friends, still kind of young. I went to college. I graduated college almost 10 years after I graduated high school. So a lot of my friends are just getting out of college, or even still in college, and trying to figure out how to cook for themselves for the first time, perhaps, in their life. And so one thing I try to framework sort of is this idea of like setting up your basics. And if you have not just go-to recipes, but just like understanding how to grocery shop and understanding how to stock your pantry, then you're never going to go hungry if you always have things on hand. So my kind of philosophy is with cooking is to have a decently stocked pantry. And I have a free cookbook on my website that gives like my pantry, my ideal pantry that I have. And anyone can download that for free, but it's starting with the pantry. And then once you have that, your weekly grocery shopping shouldn't be all that complicated. It's buying the fresh stuff, right? But if you have like beans and rice or pasta or rice pasta or things that work with your diet, then and I love canned tuna and like canned sardines and stuff like that too, because it's just like quick, easy protein, and the sardines are great. You know, those omega-3s are, they just like, if I'm not feeling good, if I'm having like a Crohn's flare, just a can of sardines and like some chicken broth, I'm good to go. So I love having things like that on hand. But yeah, I think it's being intentional. Like, just like if you were to start exercising for the first time or getting serious about fitness, when you start cooking for yourself, it requires some planning up front, right? And the more you can plan up front, the easier it's going to be down the road for you, like most things in life, right? So if you're starting to figure out cooking and food for yourself, that is essential. Like, what is it that I'm trying to do? And it doesn't have to be some like 15-page document of what you're trying to do, but just like, how many meals are you going to cook for yourself each week? What are they going to entail? And what do you need to get it done? Just having that intention at the beginning of each week, I think, is crucial.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, the intentionality, the simplicity of it, just it's almost seeming like a compounding interest type thing, where it's like, hey, this is, you know, what I know I need. This is what I know I can function on. Like you said, like stock your pantry, get your fresh stuff every week. You know, one thing I loved about seeing a lot of your videos is that you would always take like the excess of a vegetable and find a way to put it to use. So nothing ever got wasted in the stuff that you do. And yeah, I think that's really cool. Yeah, man, I feel like you're like the what's the word I'm trying to think, like I picture just like some Woosah guy on a cliff talking about food, you know, like the mastermind behind it. It's good stuff, man.
I think I could get a little wacky when I'm talking to people sometimes. They're like, it's just food, man. It's just something we eat. But that's what makes it important to me, is that it's something we do every day, and it's something every human does. So it's that common language that, you know, I say some people think I'm wacky, but really, like, no one ever does, because it's so essential. Like, no one ever thinks about it and like, oh, dude, you're thinking too much about it, you know, because it's it resonates with people because it's an essential thing. Everyone nowadays, at least, everyone kind of tries their hand at cooking, at least. So I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, man. I think there's just a lot. It's a lot to take in. Everything you're saying is a lot to take in. I appreciate everything you're saying. I'm trying to think if there's any questions left unspoken or unasked, but yeah, I think you really just get straight to the point. So what I want to do now is, again, we're going to talk about your Instagram, talk about what you have going on. First things first, you mentioned your website. They could find a cookbook on your website. That's your is that your www.carsonsweezy.com site? Or
yeah, so if you go to Savories, or actually, sorry, if you go to Get the Scoop, and
okay,
yep. Yeah, so if you get the Scoop, you'll get the cookbook. So just plug in your email, and then we'll send you the cookbook automatically. And then I've been sending new recipes every week too. So the cookbook is just sort of it was kind of my project for myself of like, what's my cooking philosophy? And so many friends kept asking, like, what are your tips for just getting started? And so I kind of wrote the cookbook with them in mind. So yeah, just giving that out, but then the recipes come each week, updating fun new stuff.
Yeah, I think it's important, man. I think that, again, your perspective on food, I mean, having, again, someone with like Crohn's disease and having a chronic condition, if you will, like, you have to have a well-established relationship with it. And I think what I love about, again, everything you do is like, yes, there's Crohn's, and yes, there's things that can cause irritation, inflammation, or whatever, but ultimately, like, you find joy from what it is that you're putting your energy into, which is being in the kitchen. And whether that's making cookies, which ideally for somebody who has, it could potentially cause inflammation, you know, but I'll be honest, like, I don't know what it is, but the experience that I've had, you know, that we've shared with these cookies, like, I have not had any issues, you know, and I don't know. I think there's something to be said for that, where it's like the mindset that goes in with the food. Um, and it's funny, actually. I was reading a book called Think Your Way to Wealth, and the Napoleon Hill is interviewing Andrew Carnegie, and Andrew Carnegie is from the 1940s, and he's talking about, like, when you go to eat, like, be very intentional and methodical. Like, put your mind in a place where you're basically assigning your food an assignment for your body. You know, it's like, if you eat when you're anxious, you know, essentially your body's going to process it in a way that's going to make you feel more anxious. You know, or if you eat with a mindset of gratitude and, you know, thanking and thankfulness, then, like, it's going to be more pleasing to you as you indulge. And the funny thing is, I don't think about the contents in a cookie as I'm eating one of your cookies. I'm thinking about, I'm actually, like, having an experience in this moment, you know, even though Carson isn't in the room, but my wife and kids are, and, like, we're all indulging and we're enjoying, and it's weird. Like, I haven't had any issues with the cookies that you made. And I think there is because of the psychology behind it, you know, and that intentionality. Whereas I can go and get a pack of Oreos and it's high fructose corn syrup, and I'll indulge and I'll just feel gutted. You know, my ears start turning red. I feel overheated. I feel, again, it's partially the ingredients, but also just I think the mindset behind the food. It's a strange connection. You know, there's science behind that, but I think that everything you do really encapsulates all that. Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Yeah, I mean, I haven't had problems with the cookies either, and I think it's funny because I think most of us, anyone that's been sick with Crohn's or otherwise, has had a feeling of, like, eating a bowl of soup or whatever their go-to sick thing is, you know, like a Sprite or grape juice, whatever they go to when they're sick to feel better, and so they have that intention then because it's, like, somehow wired into just wanting to feel better. It's like, I'm going to eat this to feel better. But when we're feeling okay, we don't always have that intention. And yeah, the stress or the anxiety can kind of dictate. I think you mentioned something about it, like setting up the acid in our stomach too, it kind of connects it in a different way. So just having that intention when we eat is crucial. And I think, yeah, when you're eating a from scratch baked good versus something from the store, like when you go to the store, you know, it's like, I'm going to eat this, like, I'm going to indulge in this trash. And it's like, I try not to judge food because I think everything has its place, but that's kind of the mindset. You know, it's like, oh, I'm going to eat this treat, like, and I just want to eat it, you know, an Oreo. But totally different when you're getting something from a bakery or a home from scratch baked good. It's like, oh, I'm going to, like, really, like, I'm getting the good stuff here, and I'm, you know, going to indulge in that way. So yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, it's good. I mean, you just actually brought up some more questions, and I know we got a little more time. So tell me about your relationship with food. I mean, have you always felt this way you feel about food now, as far as, or, you know, I know some people, they kind of let food dictate how, you know, their energy. Have you always had this positive relationship with food, and, you know, how did you get to the mindset that you have today regarding, you know, with food?
I think I've always had a relationship with food. I don't know how positive or negative it's been over the years. You know, when I was 9 or so, I started playing football, and I had to cut down some weight to make the team because you know, certain weight classes. And so I think kind of developed some unhealthy habits there with trying to cut weight and whatnot. And then in high school, my coach, I remember freshman year, I kind of grew and slimmed up a bit. And my coach, I was playing offensive line. And, like, I remember my coach saying, you know, you should just never be hungry. Just always eat, like, whenever you're hungry. You know, we need you to put on some weight.
Wow.
And so I took that as, like, okay, like, green light, let's go. I've always wanted to eat. But I think that kind of was the opposite of how I started when I was 9 or so. So it was a weird relationship for a while. And then, you know, so after high school, in college is when Crohn's symptoms started flaring up. So it's been like a interesting relationship since I was probably 9 or so. But I think, yeah, now after going through the bad couple year span where I had my colon removed, I think that really, it gave me a different relationship with food. And for the most part, that came from just me developing a deeper spiritual connection with myself and just looking at all things differently. So
yeah, I understand that too. Yeah, usually when we're, again, I've gone through the Crohn's thing, you know, it's like we talked about this before, the introspection that occurs, and you kind of just find a way to persevere. And I think I love everything you're saying, because it then now ties into who you are today and what your products are about. So you were kind of on the extreme of like, hey, I need to lose weight, I need to make these numbers. And then it was the other one was like, now I need to gain weight, I'm trying to make these numbers. It's almost like a stress factor, one way or the other. And it's like, again, like you mentioned, like everybody needs food, but now it's like a toxic relationship in a sense, you know? So what I love about what you've done is you've analyzed all this, you've considered it, you've identified, like, again, the introspection within your body, and you just made it even more simple now, not just for yourself, but for others, because you've created this cookbook, which gives them a basic foundation to just start. He's sneezing right now for the audio audience, so God bless you, man. But you know, I appreciate the mute. No, but yeah, it's cool. So you created this cookbook, which can help now kind of create a baseline for everybody else who's trying to create a solid foundation when it comes to food and nutrition. So I think it's pretty cool, man. So let's see. So on that note, we'll get back to, I'm going to pull up your www.carsonsweezy.com. Again, so if you go there, go to Get the Scoop, you can then sign up for emails, and you also get a code, I guess, 20% off. Gotta make sure I save that. But yeah, and then you'll start getting emails. You get on an email list. I also saw, as soon as I entered into the website, there was an opportunity to you know, again, enter your email and get, like, I guess you give free, I don't know, is it like a monthly drawing or something for?
Actually, so we're doing a weekly drawing, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
okay,
and I don't know, I just realized I wanted to give out cookies more, because I think that's part of the reason why, too, I started the cookie venture, was to just create some joy, you know, in a world that's kind of crazy right now. So I think, yeah, weekly cookie giveaways, and then if you go to your inbox, we'll get the cookbook in there too now.
Nice. All right. And then on Instagram, you started your at Sweets and Savories page, correct?
Yeah, I'm not really, you know, the reason I got that was just to kind of get the name. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, everything's going through Carson Sweezy right now. I think some friends have started following that page, but I just put a couple of posts there for a placeholder. But yeah, it's really, this is where all the recipes and the cookie announcements and deals and stuff go down.
Nice, man. All right. So yeah, so at Carson Sweezy on Instagram. Again, www.carsonsweezy.com, and then to save his trademark and all that, he also has at Sweets and Savories on Instagram. That's good, man. So let's just kind of get into this now. This is the bread and butter. This is what you're working on right now. Again, I'm on your page. When we got connected, it was all about these amazing foods, all these amazing I don't know, presentations. Again, the way you just handle yourself in the kitchen is amazing. So you present excellent products. And at that time too, you were doing, you know, virtual events. I remember one time you were doing like you had like a band playing or something like that, where people were on Zoom and you're making food. Recently, you actually just you had a bunch of people who were just consider themselves creative, and you all had them provide some creative product, and you guys did like a kind of a gift exchange with creative things, and I thought that was pretty incredible. So you're still doing amazing things even amidst a pandemic. But how did you, I know you're still doing the cooking for just traditional food, but how did you get into the cookie business, if you will? What made you start there? Or yeah.
Yeah, good question, because it seems kind of random. I think a couple of things, and it partially was random. I think a couple of things. One was, so after my I have trouble saying the surgery, colectomy, or
Okay, yeah,
ileocecal. Yeah, when I had the colon removed, I just say when I had my colon removed because it's easier. But when that happened, I got back into real estate, and which was my career for a few years, and realized pretty soon into that revamp that I wanted to be closer to food. So I left real estate, and for the next year and a half or so was trying pretty much anything around food, you know, recipe development for companies, menu development for restaurants, workshops, grocery shopping, and kind of this system and structure behind the foundations of cooking. Really anything I could do, because I knew I wanted to be in food, because that was my goal since I was a little kid. I didn't know how though, and so I tried everything, but nothing really stuck for me. Like, people were willing to pay me and stuff, but it just didn't feel like the route. So the cookies became the cookies honestly just came randomly through experimentation of all these different ideas. And I had a good friend whose birthday was coming up, and I didn't really have the money to get him anything. And so what's better than, you know, homemade baked good? That's I love, you know, gifting food. So I baked him some of these pumpkin cookies that I knew he had loved previously. And then someone I was dating at the time had maybe one cookie, so she wanted more. She didn't really get to indulge in them because they were his gift, and so she asked me to make more. I made more, and my sister came home and wanted them, so I made them again. So after 3 times in one weekend, I figured I'd put it up on the website just to see if anyone else wanted them, and sold out within a day or so. So yeah, it kind of just took off from there, and I started realizing how much fun it was. Because I think one of the things I struggle with was I didn't feel like I had the reach that I wanted to have, you know, with doing a recipe for a company or helping one person with their grocery shopping. It felt like it kind of ended there. And the cookies, and even like some of the big catering gigs I did, you know, that maybe brought in good income, but they ended after the catering, you know. The cookies, they kind of have endless reach. And the way I look at it is it's sort of visiting people all over the country. So in October of 2020, I traveled 80,000 miles with the cookies. Like, I didn't travel, but the cookies traveled. And so a part of me got to visit a bunch of people. And so that is, it's really just that culmination of like being kind of desperate and then needing a gift from my friend or wanting to gift him something, and then putting it up on my website and realizing how much fun it was to kind of offer something to anyone who wanted it, right? Anywhere in the country. All those things together was kind of the perfect recipe.
Wow, that's incredible. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, and think about the miles of travel. I mean, I have friends all over the world, and at this point, and it's funny, my friends in Canada, I tell them about your cookies and stuff. So now I know we had a conversation, and now you got an update, you got your shipments. Now I could order from Canada and get your cookies sent out there, which is incredible. So I'm definitely rooting for you when it comes to the international stuff. But yeah, so let's kind of go through your pumpkin or your cookie journey. So you started off with the pumpkin chocolate chip cookies, right? And then we moved on to, which I loved. I loved. I don't know. I just love the fall spice, you know, and your cookie just encapsulated the fall taste. Then and we move on to the winter months. You have the double chocolate chip or double chocolate peppermint crunch. It's kind of funny because I think you kind of alluded to it. You're not really a peppermint fan. I'm actually not either, but my wife loves peppermint. As soon as I saw these cookies and the fact that they were double chocolate, I'm like, okay, she's gonna love these. And it was like the perfect combination of like a soft crunch and just a soft dough cookie. Like, it was just a very good, solid cookie. And then we move on to our current one, which is make sure I got the name right. What's the current one right now?
The current one's a sea salt double chocolate.
All right, sea salt double chocolate. All right, so that's going to be till what day? What can they order till?
So we're doing that till February 22nd, and then on the 25th we'll launch our spring fetty, which is, it's basically a brown sugar sprinkle cookie.
Nice.
And it's gonna rival. I mean, the pumpkin one was my favorite, and for the record, the peppermint one, I don't like peppermint, but we did an event, and I had friends, you know, kind of buy the cookies ahead of time, and I sent them 2 flavors, and they voted on the peppermint, so it won. So I couldn't, you know, people want peppermint. All right, yeah, this is fun. It was fun for me to make, so I'm happy to give it out. But yeah, the next one, it's gonna be February 25th, the brown sugar sprinkle cookie.
Nice, man.
Also known as the spring fetty.
Nice. So okay, so we got go to www.carsonsweezy.com. Go ahead and enter your email through Get the Scoop. Get your cookbook, get your kitchen set up with the proper pantry and proper foods to order throughout the week. not through Carson, but he gives you the platform and playbook to do that. And then you also get a promo code for food. You also be entered in a weekly drawing for the cookies that he's doing right now. From till February 22nd, you can go ahead and get the sea salt double chocolate chip cookie, which again, I've tasted. I've tried all of them so far, and they're all amazing. So I did want to be intentional about this interview too, because of timing. I want to be able to allow people to indulge, and experience what it is that you're doing. Yeah, so that's still February 22nd, and then you'll have the next cookie coming out, and you can see again all this on at Carson Sweezy on Instagram. Last things I want to wrap up with, Carson. So again, health and fitness, people on their health journeys. I think the one thing I've learned about my relationship with food is like, it's okay to indulge on days that you want to indulge. It's just understanding how you're going to feel when you eat something, or understanding, again, the quantity, things that you may add to the food that, as you're cooking, that could impact the way you feel. And, for somebody that's kind of on their journey, what would you say to encourage them as they're getting started, as they're like trying to test things out, when it comes to their health and things of that nature?
Yeah, generally I would say don't worry about the recipes and don't stress out about if it's perfect, because at the end of the day, if you can eat it, then it's perfect. As long as it's, edible and you're okay with eating it, it doesn't matter how it worked out. And I think with health, there's no right or wrong. I mean, for someone with Crohn's, a lot of cruciferous vegetables might not be the best, but for a lot of other people, they love their broccoli and cauliflower, and that's healthy for them. So I think the idea of healthy even is very individualistic, and we all just have to find out what fuels us. I think fuel is a good way of looking at it. I think you've mentioned that before too, just like what fuels your body and what kind of fuel do you want any given day.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. And as you're speaking, I think about overindulgence, and you can overindulge in the good things, and that's actually potentially detrimental to you as well. So I think when people think overindulgence, they think negative connotation with a pantry type food or sweet food. But yeah, I know with me, with Crohn's, if I have a flare, or even if I don't, if I eat kale, even in general, I mean, if I eat any type of vegetable that isn't cooked, and if I do that consistently, it's just gonna wreck me.
Yep.
So it's interesting that overindulgence can go in either way, and I think finding that balance is very important, and understanding your body. And we talked about it before, like when it comes to performance, like if I'm going to go out on a 10-mile run, I'm not just going to eat something that's going to burn up quickly, or I know that's going to make me feel terrible. Like I need something that's going to sustain me. But I could potentially eat those things after I run and be totally fine, So I think timing of food is also important. But yeah, I think, like you said, it's all about intentionality, and the proper relationship is essentially what it comes down to. And Carson, I don't know, I can't thank you enough. I appreciate all that you do. I appreciate your mindset when it comes to food and the healthy perspective that you have. Again, to the audience, go ahead to Instagram, check out Carson Sweezy, go to www.carsonsweezy.com, and go ahead and get your cookbook, get your pantry set up, and use that promo code, buy your cookies before February 22nd, or wait till the 25th for the new ones to roll out. But anything else, Carson, before we close out?
I appreciate you having me on, Adam. And if anyone has any questions or just wants to talk about food in general, feel free to message me on Instagram too. I spend a lot of the day just talking to people and making friendships. So yeah, happy to chat with anyone. And thanks again for having me on, Adam. It's been great to build our relationship over the internet. And then, yeah, got to make it come to the real life in person a few weeks ago too. So that was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, I loved it, man. Well, I appreciate everything, and we'll be in touch. So thanks, Carson.
Thanks, Adam.